Here are the 5 proven steps on how to ensure that you keep your New Year's resolutions. So now, first and foremost, some credibility. So my wife, Megan Unsworth, and myself, we have been teaching tens of thousands of people on how to set their goals and how to go out and achieve them. And we've had tens of thousands of people that have done this process on New Year's Eve, heading into a new year. The cool thing is that this process can be done at any time of the year for anyone that wants to achieve their goals, but especially we all know that when someone's having their kiss on New Year's Eve, maybe the champagne, we know that what people are toasting about is the new year and celebrating that new year. And so what we do is we teach people about their vision. We like to say what is the vision that God has for them, and then how to clarify that vision and break it down into goals. So what I'm going to do is my very first step on how to keep your New Year's resolutions. Number 1 is vision. So I want to ask you this. What is your vision in your life and in your career? Are you clear on it? Have you written it down? Have you thought about it? So before we get into the specific goals or New Year's resolutions, I'd love for you to think about, what is my vision? What does that look like for you? What comes up for you? And usually when we ask the question, most people don't know. Most people just think, ooh, I'm not really sure. That's a big question. So vision is something that I would love for you to take a few moments and really think about. As a believer, we believe that God has given every single human being gifts and talents. We believe that, God has a specific assignment and a vision for your life, that you are here for a purpose. And so when we can really connect with that purpose and assignment, it's going to give us a reason to go out and to achieve these New Year's resolutions and goals. You've probably heard the phrase why, right? If you're going to set a goal, you're going to set a New Year's resolution, but if you don't have a why behind it, you may not have the motivation to go out and to go get it. So again, the first step is about clarifying your vision. So as a believer, I'd encourage you to get into prayer. No matter who you are, here's one of the few strategies that we teach on how to clarify your vision. First and foremost, I would look to your story. How have you lived your life up to this point? What are the things that you've been through, the situations that you've overcome? Usually what happens is that when people have overcome a tragedy or a situation, they can take their mess and turn that into a message. And then we think about, from your story, what is your stance? What are you here to accomplish? What lights you up? What fires you up? So when people think about, well, how do I craft my vision? Well, vision is often coming from a sense of purpose. And so what is that stance on the inside? For my wife, Megan, and I, we are so passionate about Jesus Christ. We're so passionate about faith and bringing that to different people all throughout the world. And so our vision is clear. We want to build the kingdom here on earth. We want to help people know Jesus. And so with that vision, it informs our goals. It informs our New Year's resolutions. It is our stance. And then your strategy is how you bring that to market and what you do, whether you're an entrepreneur or you have a career. So if we think vision, right, what is that vision that you're called to? And even if it's not perfectly clear, that's okay. But your vision can be wild. It can be big. It can be bold. It can be crazy. You may not have any clue how you're going to achieve it. Now, what we want to do is drill down into goals. So your New Year's resolutions, they're typically goals, right? They're things that you're stating, those resolutions. And so if we think about, well, how can we ensure that we achieve these resolutions? Well, we want them to be SMART goals. So SMART goals, there were 3 folks that wrote a book in 1981 and coined the phrase SMART goals. So the S is for specific. So one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to set a goal that's so vague and broad. What we say is that if a 9-year-old doesn't understand what your goal is, it's too complicated or it's too vague. So we call it the 9-year-old test. So is your goal very specific? Can you point your finger and know when you achieve that goal and what success looks like? And the M would be measurable. Is it something that we know when you achieve it, we know what success looks like? If someone's going to say, well, I'm going to get in better shape this next year, that's very different than having a specific, measurable goal of, I'm going to get to 175 pounds by this date. It's a completely different ballgame, right? So we want it to be specific, we want it to be measurable, we want it to be attainable. So attainable, why that's so important, the A in SMART goals, is because if you set a goal that's too big, and we've seen this many, many times over with our clients. If you set a goal that's too big, what happens is, from a subconscious perspective, is that it's so big that when you get to that point, you say, well, I didn't achieve it because I said I was going to make $1 million in 30 days. And that was, now 30 days later, I now realize that that was crazy of me to even say that. So you give yourself a natural out. Versus if your goal is attainable, it means that deep down, you have the potential, you have the skills required to go get that goal. So if you don't get that goal, the only person you can blame is you. And that's why having attainable goals is so, so, so important. Instead of them being wild and crazy, they're specific, measurable, and attainable. The next one is relevant. If you set a goal that goes against your values and there's like this friction of your core values and the goal that you want to make, then you're going to literally self-sabotage it from the inside out. So you want to make sure that your goals are relevant. The last one is time-based. What does that mean? If you have a goal or a resolution that you just say, hey, I'm going to go run a marathon, and you never put a date to it, it's just a fantasy. No matter what we say, if we don't put a date to it and it's not time-based, then there's no accountability. There's no hooks, there's no motivation for you to achieve it, because we all know what happens is we get excited for something, right? How many of you have been excited, to have a New Year's resolution? You're like, this is my year. I'm going to get the best shape of my life. I'm going to kick butt and have, the best financial year of my life in my business or my career. And then it's just like, well, I don't feel like doing it. How many have you ever had the I don't feel like it's, right? Like, I don't feel like going to the gym right now. It's way easier to watch Netflix. I don't feel like making those extra sales calls to hit those financial goals, to get the house that I said I wanted in the New Year's resolution. So the whole thing is we want to make sure that we have a date to it to pull us. So again, backing up to the 5 steps, we've got vision and your goals, and I drilled down at the SMART goals. Now let's get into the next step, which is the declaration. So this is process and step number 2 on how to ensure and keep your New Year's resolutions, and that is the declaration. So what is a declaration? It's making a public statement out loud, in person, online, and telling people what you're going to do. And in that declaration, if you were to say, hey, I commit to getting in the best shape of my life, which is too vague, but if you were to say, for a man, getting to 175 pounds, or doing, a woman being at their goal weight and fitting in that black dress or whatever, when you state those SMART goals publicly and you put a date to it, what happens? So what would happen for you, if you here right now watching this video, what would happen for you if you told a lot of people publicly about your New Year's resolutions? Right? So let's say you told your family. How powerful would that be? What would it do for you? Well, if you told your family, you would have accountability, right? So that declaration creates accountability. But now let's take it a step further. What if you said you were going to get in the best shape of your life, and you put your goal weight and you put, the inches and all the things that you're going to accomplish? It's very specific, very smart. And what if you went online? And what if you posted on Facebook and Instagram or whatever social network that you like to use, and you said, I'm going to do it by this day. I will, watch me. The more people that you tell, the more accountability it creates. And here's the psychology. That when you have the accountability, and when there's more pain associated with not doing the action, that's where the magic happens in this, because there's pain associated with doing the work. There's pain associated with, going to the gym, or, making the sales calls, or whatever the actions are that we need to hit our resolutions. But when we make the declaration, we actually flip it and we create leverage. What leverage means in this situation is that you create more leverage on yourself, that it's actually more painful not to take the action because you told everybody. Because if you get to the end of the year and you never ran that half marathon, or you never got in shape, but you told everybody, it'd be humiliating, it'd be embarrassing. And so what happens is you find that you have this motivation from the inside, as opposed to feeling like you have to keep rising to the occasion even though you don't feel like it. So that's powerful. The declaration is powerful. The great thing about the declaration is that it attracts resources. When we have our clients, when they make their declarations, what happens is that often, not always, but often, the resources show up. You make a declaration about getting, about doing that half marathon, you're gonna see in the comments, hey, you gotta talk to so-and-so. You got to talk to this person. They do ultra marathons. Did you know that you got to get, certain insoles for your shoes? And it attracts resources. The how is often something that people don't, they have a hard time. How am I going to do it? How am I going to hit the goal? The how will find you through that declaration. Number 3, the third proven step to keep your New Year's resolutions is writing a letter as if it's already been accomplished. This is about visualization. And so we look at, if you study the most successful human beings in the world, we're talking Olympic athletes, we're talking, think of a Navy SEAL who is in such an incredible mindset and state to be able to do what they do. They're the best of the best. Think of the best of the best, the greatness on the inside of some of the brightest human beings accomplishing the biggest things. Well, what do they have in common? They visualize the outcome that they want to achieve. Olympic athletes, they visualize themselves bowing their head and getting that gold, draped over them, and they think about it, and it's not just about receiving the medal. They practice in their mind over and over and over again the strokes, so that when Michael Phelps, when he's doing those, the 100 meters and this and that, and he's swimming, he's literally had already swam that race 1,000 times in his mind. Did you know that Navy SEALs, before they, breach a building, they've already built a set of what it looks like, and they've already practiced it so many times and practiced it in their minds. It's second nature where they're in combat. So the point of the story is, if you can visualize and see yourself already having received and already have the benefit of the New Year's resolutions or goals, it makes a huge impact. So what I want you to do is, I want you to see yourself and visualize with the end in mind. So if you set that goal of running the half marathon, if you set the goal of getting in the best shape of your life and you have some specific milestones to that, or maybe it's getting, the new house or whatever whatever the resolutions are, stopping coffee, waking up early, you name it, that I want you to write a letter as if it's already been achieved. So it would be you writing as if a year later, so picture 1 year from now, and it's you writing to yourself saying, you know what, there I was, New Year's Eve. And I thought to myself, maybe this will just be another year, another year that goes by. But I watched this video from Nick Unsworth from Life on Fire, and I decided to go for it. I took a chance on myself, and I decided to write a letter, and I thought maybe he was crazy. I wasn't really sure. But I decided that I was going to commit to running my first ever half marathon. Now, as I write this, as I was writing the letter, I was, this place and this place and this place, but I committed to the process. I went out and I did exactly what he said. I publicly declared on social media. I told friends, I told family, I called people, I texted people, and I burned the boats. I let so many people know about my New Year's resolutions. I created all this leverage, just like he said I would. And what happened next blew my mind. I attracted the right resources. People told me, hey, you should get this coach, you should get these shoes. And I started jogging. My first mile was 30 minutes it took. My second mile took 25 minutes. And you write the story of your life, and you write the feeling of what it looks like. Now you're in the best shape. Here I am, now that 12 months later, I'm at my goal weight. I'm proud of myself when I look in the mirror. I've inspired my spouse. I've inspired my kids. I've inspired my coworkers. I've inspired all these people for them to get in the best shape of their lives. So you write about these beautiful outcomes of you achieving your goals. And so that's the letter process. And what happens is when you wake up, and on the days that you don't feel like taking the action required to hit these goals, these resolutions, you read the letter every single day. You make it a habit in your daily routine. So when you don't feel like it, you read the letter and you become empowered because you're putting your mind in a positive place of picturing the outcome as opposed to the negative feeling. So I'm going to wrap up here. We've got number 4, proven method number 4 is to resource up. This to me is the biggest game changer. I failed in business for 10 years as a kid in my 20s. And when I use this process that I'm teaching you, and when I use this resource up process, everything changed. And what I realized is that if there's something that you want to achieve, if there's something that is a dream of yours, that's a New Year's resolution, did you know that you don't have to do it alone? Did you know that there's always there's a person, there's a mentor, there's somebody, there's a book, there's some resource to help you get to where you want to go even faster. So if you had that New Year's resolution where you wanted to run a marathon or a half marathon, imagine if you said, you know what, I'm going to go for it. and I'm gonna hire a running coach. What's your likelihood? Do you think you're gonna be one of those statistics that fails by January 19th or fails by the second week of February? Or if you commit on January 1st or whatever day that you declare these goals and you say, you know what, I'm gonna use next step number 4, resource up. I'm gonna go get that coach. What do you think happens to your odds? You are coming close to guaranteeing you're gonna get the outcome by resourcing up. Now, of course, a coach is the best. That also can, be an investment, but you're the best investment. You're gonna get more return out of investing in yourself than you are in the stock market or anywhere else. So I would say find it, get creative, find the resources, get the coach. If you can't get the coach, get the course, get the book, get an accountability group. So that's Resource Up, and that is the shortcut to success in life and business. And it is for anything you put your heart and your mind to. Resource Up will get you there in a fraction of the time. Number 5, proven step number 5. Is faith over fear. We want to come into it saying, all right, you know what? If I make these New Year's resolutions or I set these goals, and if I have a mentality that it's just going to be easy, then when something comes in, when the devil comes and is talking in your ear, when someone says, hey, come on, we're having a party, come drink some wine or whatever, it's like we have to expect adversity. And so we've got to know that there's going to be adversity. We don't want to put our head in the sand and pretend like it's not going to exist. So instead, we want to have an attitude of faith over fear. That when it seems impossible, when it seems like, gosh, here we are, it's February, I'm really not close to the goal weight, or maybe I had a bad week, or maybe I cheated and I ate this or whatever. Instead of allowing a cheat or a cheat meal to take you off the track because of discouragement, I want you to rise up and have faith over fear. And recognize whenever you trip up, slip up on your resolutions, it's natural, it's normal, right? When you feel like you're off course, just realign and think about having faith over fear. So that wraps up the 5 proven ways to keep your New Year's resolutions and to hit your goals. So what I would love for you to do is pop in the comments, declare right here, right now in the comments, and write, what are you committing to? Even if it's just one SMART goal. So pop in the comments, let us know, start your declarations here, carry them online, and let us know how it works. We've done this with literally tens of thousands of people. We're approaching 100,000 people that we coach on our online Life on Fire challenges, people all over the world. We've proven this process across so many people, and if it works for all of them, and it works for us, it'll work for you too. God bless.